But I know that the Israelites, that time when they had the permission of the king, they had a favor of the king.
Yes.
They have this strong confidence because they know they are with a king's side. If you are with a king's side, are you be worrying? Are you be scared? Do you have fear? If God is for us, who can be against us?
Amen.
Amen. Our God is so strong, so mighty. There's nothing
our
my
God
God cannot do. Let's go back to Sunday
Yes.
school. I love that song.
Are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day, capital D, approaching.
Now, on that day, we've been talking about it, that day is coming. And what are we supposed to do all the more as we see that day approaching?
Meeting together.
Meet together, which is what we're doing tonight. And encourage each other, lift each other up, and support each other in our walks. You know, the lions are out there, and we all have issues, and it's just so neat. Last week, we talked about the benefit even of coming together and studying God's Word. How it's so different when we talk about it verse by verse and discuss it as we go, versus sitting home alone, by yourself and reading it. And we just can pull so much more out of this. Well, that's what they were doing. The population at that time was in these 127 provinces was about 100 million people. 15 million were Jews. They were outnumbered. And some of them might have had just 2 or 3 families in the rural areas. What chance would they have stood to defend themselves? They were already told they could defend themselves, but what in the world could happen to a family of 5 or 8 or 10 when you've got a big army coming against you? So they band together, they assembled, there's strength in numbers. You know the old adage they used during World War II, united we stand, divided we fall. All right, let's look at verse 3. Even all the princes of the provinces, the satraps, the governors, and those who were doing the king's business assisted the Jews, because the dread, there's that word again, the dread of Mordecai had fallen on them. What were they doing? The king's business. Are we doing the king's business? Or are we busy watching and seeing what everyone else is doing? One of my favorite quotes is, those who are out doing their job are too busy to be critical of those who are out doing their job. We're to be doing our job, and our job is the king's business. Our job is that which God has called us to do. So, the effective, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much, or a righteous woman, right? So as we see the day approaching, and I think about that day as, have you guys ever, I know you have, planned a wedding maybe? And that's all you're focused on is that day. Well, this is where the Jews had been. They were focused on that day. On that day. It's like a day maybe where you had a surgery scheduled. You know that everything else, I'm talking to somebody in here, everything else for the rest of your life hinges on that surgery. It's huge. It could be a test you're waiting on. Here we go with Legion now. That it's like you're waiting with bated breath for that day, because you know the rest of your life is going to be determined by what happens there. So do not neglect assembling together. You think those Jews didn't pray? They did. Doesn't say they did, but they were Jews. The very name Jew means those who worship Yahweh. What does Romans 8:31 say? Who has that one?
I have.
Okay.
What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?
You were talking about that when we were singing. That was a perfect verse for you. If God is for us, who can be against us? Doesn't matter. We need to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus Christ, the one who's for us. And that's what the Jews were leaning on. You know, we've got the king's support here. We're going to be okay. And so are we. Even when things don't appear to be going our way. Even though we might be a little upset with things. Even though it might seem like God is hiding. He's not hiding. God cannot lie. God's given us promises. He will be true to His word.